Hey everyone, it's Crystal here. So I'm really excited to bring this short video on parental burnout. And what is parental burnout? Why are our parents of the year 2022 suffering from parental burnout? And this isn't a new phenomenon that's been out there. It's been in the works for a while, but it's certainly emphasized over the last couple of years due to a lot of the restrictions, a lot of challenges parents had faced, a lot of things that were outside of their control. And so it's really snowballed into actually a major issue that a lot of parents are struggling with right now. And not to discredit the dads out there, but a lot of women who are perhaps even holding a full time or part time job and also doing the whole parental routine as well are suffering a lot more because there's a lot to juggle for them. They're juggling work, their profession, trying to bring and contribute some income to the household, as well as taking care of the household. So that's their own needs, perhaps their spouse's needs, as well as their children's needs. So there's a lot of aerial groundwork that needs to be covered. And a lot of people are expressing and experiencing burnout, and it can show up in so many different ways. So, as I've mentioned in some other videos, which I'll link to some other types of burnout at the end of this, so you know that it can just pertain to anyone. And I've said that in many different videos where everyone is susceptible to burnout. It's just a matter of what the instances are that are bringing you there, that are leading you there, and how to work through them. So, regardless if you're a parent or not, or whomever you are still capable of experiencing burnout. But this is just a touch on what types of different roles are within our society that a lot of people who do experience burnout are more susceptible to it. So, that being said, parents in this case have really shown above average a truly felt symptom within them that they've concluded as burnout. And so I'll link also what is burnout because it is a little bit deeper than just the symptoms that you're experiencing. It's a mental and emotional level, which then causes some physical outcomes after that. So you're experiencing these mental and emotional situations in your head, the stress that brings them on, and you're reacting to them in that mannerism, which is completely normal because we're human and we're meant to be emotional creatures. So for you to then express yourself in that mannerism, or perhaps some people don't express themselves, they suppress them. And this can start snowballing and turning into other physical challenges that you may experience. And it can always start from a more milder place. But then with time, if it's just ignored or set it aside and you don't deal with it and you just continue to power through it, can start taking away from your overall quality of life. It can take away from your health and wellness, and can actually take away from the joys of being in whichever role you're in that's causing you burnout. For this case and for this video, it's parents. So it can really take out the joy of being a parent. And I mean, being a parent could be such an incredible, rewarding thing. So when you're feeling parental burnout, you're feeling like you're inadequate, that you're not enough, that you're not meeting the expectations and the needs of your child, and also not feeling good enough for your own self that you're even capable of that. So there's this dialogue that occurs within our heads, and it can start talking negative things and make you feel really unstable and make you feel hopeless and helpless. And burnout can affect people in so many different ways. It doesn't always show itself in the onset. maybe through repetition in time, where you see the same occurrences with your mental emotional state continue to repeat itself when things happen, when you get triggered, when you're so overwhelmed with the stress that you'll see that you are behaving or responding or reacting in very similar ways. And maybe this is starting to become a problem. And maybe you're noticing that this is so frequent that you have no control over the way that you're responding, the way that you're reacting. And ultimately, the person who's suffering outside of just yourself is your child, because they are feeling what you're putting out there. They're acknowledging, they're responding, they're viewing what you're putting out there. So you are, of course, as you know, the example that you want to set for your child. You want to set a great example. You want to show them how to move through life. That is your purpose there, is to guide them through growing up, guide them through life experiences, and continuously learn. And you can't continuously learn though when you're not in a good state. So being in that negative state, that negative mind frame also makes you feel like you're not capable, you're not resilient, you're failing, you're having these doubts about the quality that you're giving out there. And you can almost go into this shell of yourself where you're starting to not feel things. You become emotionless, and perhaps maybe you're taking some of that out on the wrong people. You're working this out in the wrong way. So it's really a lot of acknowledgement on a parent's side, because the responsibility is in your hand, and the responsibility of your actions is the ability to respond as an adult. So we're able to make different decisions as an adult versus a child because we have more logic, we have more life experience, we have all these factors that we can think of and resources around us that can help us through situations, which we need to utilize those and teach children that they're available to them. Mind you, they're a lot more creative and smarter than us than we think. Just don't give them the credit, because maybe they can't communicate it in a certain way. Maybe it just doesn't sound the same to us as perhaps through a child's eyes, and through their way of describing or how they move through things. So just be aware that they're constantly interpreting what we're saying, they're constantly taking it in, not passing judgment really unless they've learned something from our actions, if something's good or bad, right or wrong. So they just let things in. And so when they're constantly absorbing what's going on around them, the environments that they're in, the emotions that are around them, the behaviors, all outset by you and whomever is around them, they start picking these up. They start learning these things. They start recognizing that these are some traits, some personalities, some parts of life that they start absorbing. And whether or not they attach to them or not is something that they decide on unconsciously. But for the most part, they are witnessing all these things. So it is your due diligence and your job to be the best person that you can be when you're a parent, because you want to show them how it is to be human. And sometimes that does require some of those hard emotions that we have to deal with. Troublesome times. Like, let's not be fake here. Like, these things do happen in life where there are challenges, there are struggles, there are hard times, but it's how you deal with them, it's how you move through them, and how you're affected by them are the fundamental principles, in my opinion, that we need to teach children so they can become more resilient as they age, so they are equipped well with skills that they can put forward and ahead of issues and just really deal with things in the best way possible. And I'm not saying that there's always a perfect way to deal with things. It's all through trial and error. And isn't that what life is anyways, learning? I mean, if all the answers were in a book, I have tons of books here. If they were all in one book, that's the only book that anyone should read. And then everybody's questions are answered, and there's nothing to think about anymore. It's all there. But because life is not written in a handbook, because we constantly need more and more, because things change, circumstances are different. We start tearing pages, one out of each book, and just make our own manuals. And that's how I think about life in a whole, regardless if you're a parent or just an individual who's on their own, or a professional, or somebody who's just living life. There's a manual for everyone, but it's certain pages in the manual that works for you. So I'm in the mind frame that I'm still creating my own manual. I think I will be creating this manual for a lifetime to come, but I constantly absorb things and start taking pages from other manuals, inserting them, and then also taking pages out of the manual that don't work for me anymore. Perhaps they're pages that were there for a really long time, and maybe you don't need those anymore. So, considering what you need and what you don't need is really how we start growing and becoming and stepping into our own selves, and our whole spirituality as a human and who we are is constantly working at being capable and being aware that you are creating this manual. It's your own to create, and it's for nobody else. So this is a very personal journey and a very private thing to your own self of what you need and what you don't need, and those are just choices. They're choices that you can make for yourself. And of course, that means if you're in a parental role, your child is also more rightfully so able to take a page from here, from this chapter, maybe not from there, from your own manual, and start developing their own selves. And this is some fundamental things that we need to teach our children, and how they can learn to grow up and be their own selves, be their own persons, because we're all unique. There's no one in the same. And so we're all striving to always do better, feel better, get better. Everything is better. And so when you keep that momentum up, when you keep that desire to always want to do better, then you will search for the pages that suit you. And this is just a great learning, coping tool for getting through problems, getting through stress. And stress is always going to be there. There's always a level of stress in life, whether that be good stress, which, there's some good stressors out there. Maybe getting your first home is a good stress, although there's some financial stressors, and maybe just dealing with the maintenance and everything. But it's also a good stress because it's taking you out of your comfort zone of maybe never having to own a home. It's giving you some reward and success, and all you can do is make it better. So thinking about good stress in a different way, and how that makes us grow. You're not going to just let the house go, run down. You're going to keep working at it, keep maintaining it. And you're maintaining your house is just like maintaining yourself. Your body is your home. And it does require that extra pruning or extra level of attention, because this is our home, and we need to teach our children that their bodies are their homes. And it all starts in the mind, because your thoughts run you and they make you exist in this world through that lens of wherever your thoughts are. So your thoughts are essentially creating your reality. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to focus on and really hone into and make it a part of our human experience, as accepting the fact that our thoughts are the creators and the designer of all the feelings that we have, the events that occur to us, and the outcome of these things and the meaning that we tie within them. So, regardless if they are negative experiences or positive experiences, we need to use them to work ourselves through life so we can come out and just know that this one time that we're guaranteed on this earth with our feet on the floor is going to be a great time, and is going to be a worthwhile time. And to make it something that is meaningful to you and can really bring some great experiences along the way, but all the while allowing you to feel that also real human experience.